it would drift and be prone to fall into the old ways of me and you. I'd give my body away if I could slip in and sleep by your side. I'd give my body away if I were a ghost in this house.
Hey, we're talking today to one of my favorites, Sophia Babb from Annie Oakley, the duo with her sister Jo. And they won multiple awards with the Mid-Atlantic Song Contest. And this year, How Could I Have Known, won a silver and Americana. And I really like that with a mix of electric and acoustic guitar. And If I Were a Ghost won gold in folk acoustic. Let me tell you, there were 1,400 songs competing. So to get a Tippy Top award is pretty amazing. And you're a contender. That song is a contender for one of the ultimate top awards to be announced soon. So congratulations. What would you like to tell us, Sophia?
Thanks so much. Thank you. Yeah, I was thrilled. We were thrilled to see the notice that we had won. Because we just submitted because, you know, we're like, why the heck not? You told me about it, Ron, a while back. So yeah, it was thrilling.
Well, I will tell you.
I know quite a bit about the real Annie Oakley, and she was quite an amazing and admirable woman. And her name wasn't Annie Oakley either, and she was Phoebe Mosey.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to choose that name? Do you think all of your fans know who Annie Oakley was? Amazing sharpshooter.
Yeah. So most people, I realize, don't know who Annie Oakley is. And when we picked the name, we were living in Oklahoma City, where we were born and raised. And in that area, which is a very, gun-loving state, people do know who Annie Oakley is, because she was a famous sharpshooter. She was kind of a trailblazer in her own right because she was one of the first women to be known for her skills with guns. And so just as context for why we chose that name, my sister and I are not gun lovers, never shot a gun, never held a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were around 15, 16, and we were trying to find a band name for ourselves, we were discovering feminism. We were discovering these motifs of the Wild West that really intrigued us. And I was looking for a sign. Bear with me. I was looking for a sign. Okay. I was like, something needs to come from the universe very easily into my lap. I don't want to force a band name. So I got a bunch of signs, if you could call them that Annie Oakley was someone I should look into because someone mentioned a documentary. I found a book about her at a thrift store, all these things that a 15-year-old would take as a sign. And so, my sister and I are like, maybe this is it. Maybe we should call ourselves Annie Oakley. So we did, but we have seen this response of sometimes when we're booked, people think that we're just a single woman named Annie Oakley because they don't know.
Which one of you is Annie?
Yeah, they're like, which one of you is Annie? And so now we've been starting to say when we're booked a place where we're not familiar, the Annie Oakley. So it kind of denotes it's like the Annie Oakley, not Annie Oakley as an individual, singer-songwriter.
I've noticed that. Well, I wonder if you would ever try to shoot a cigar from your husband's lips, or if you could split a playing card edgewise at 30 paces. She was amazing. But now back to you, and if you change your name to the Babb Sisters, that'd be fine with me. Any other name you have, now we know who you are. I know you've got some shows coming up, like Folk Alliance International. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Folk Alliance International is an international folk conference that has been going on for years. But basically, if it wasn't a pandemic time, there would be this huge conference in a hotel, generally in Kansas City, where all of these folk artists from literally all over the world come together and play shows in tiny little hotel rooms. It's quite the spectacle. If you've never been to Folk Alliance and you love folk music, highly recommend you go, just even as a listener, because it's an experience that you just don't get anywhere else. And so, in the past 5 to 6 years, we've gone to Folk Alliance, I think 4 times. But this time it's gone completely virtual. So we're just doing what we've been doing, which is live streaming, and we're doing a virtual showcase this year.
Well, that's quite a privilege to get to do that. I've run Saul showcases at NERFA for years in Cohasset, New York, and Connecticut. And we haven't done that in a few years. We're hoping to get back to that sometime, one way or the other, because it really is a great way to meet musicians who want to expand their touring routes. Could you tell me about Second Day of Spring? I was part of that. We were part of that fundraiser coming up in April.
Yeah, Second Day of Spring is our debut album. It's our first record that we've written and recorded while being, out of college. Everything before that we released was written while we were like in high school or we were freshly in college. So this is our first really albums stepping out into the folk world as adults. And it's comes at a really good time, I think, for the context that we're in nationally, because the songs are calming, they're about healing, they're about recovery after grief. And I think we've all experienced a lot of loss this year. So though not all of the songs were written during the pandemic, a lot of them were, and they all fit into this narrative that is things are going to be okay and life is going to be beautiful again. Maybe not right now, but we have this hope of healing. And that's pretty much the premise of the record.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking forward to that very much, and I hope you don't put trees on the cover.
We actually put a photo of my sister and I like lounging in the grass, looking at a valley. And in the picture, you would think that it was springtime, like the title says, Second Day of Spring, but it was actually like 30 degrees. So I think we'll fool people into thinking it was warm.
I'm curious about some of your videos and times I've seen you with an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. It's not many people mix both, but I love the way you do it. Is that fun?
Yeah, definitely. I play acoustic almost exclusively, but my sister plays a lot of electric. She's quite the guitarist.
Okay. One of the
do you
things,
have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things I really like about your songs is the language is very relatable. It's very simple words, and I mean that as a compliment. I mean, I think you really use language effectively to convey emotion and meaning. And I was just wondering if is that something intentional? I mean, do you intentionally try to keep it simple, or
do you just not know big words?
There you go.
Well, it's funny because most of the songs I write, like if I write something that I feel like is really me, like as a songwriter, Sophia Babb, not Annie Oakley, it would probably lean towards being really prosy, and you wouldn't exactly know what the song was about on the outset. And some of my favorite artists are like Feist and Samantha Crane, and these artists who they use a ton of prose and like really big words, and it's kind of almost complicated. And I like that because I like having this, like sheer, like I don't want it to be super straightforward. But when I write for Annie Oakley with my sister, it's almost like a different songwriter hat that we put on, because there's this, I don't know, I just think there's this quality, and I'm glad that you noticed this, of like this simple language of like, if you can very, not by being cliche and not by using overused words and rhymes, but if you can communicate a feeling or a message in a song effectively, then you can do anything with a song. You can make it about any feeling, any story.
Right.
And so I probably bring like anything that isn't super clear in meaning, that's probably from me, and anything that is extremely clear in meaning, that probably comes from Joe. So together, I think we make a good combination.
That's great.
Well, you realize that. Go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so most of your songs, you both have some input, or do you have some that are written just by one or the other?
Almost, I would say 90% of them we write together. And that's not necessarily like us sitting down playing guitar together and writing the song right there. It's like me taking half of a song and taking it to her and we finish it together, or vice versa. But then there are times where, last year when we were writing a bunch of the songs on this album, we were actually physically apart for a while. So we would just come with completed songs, and it was easy as that.
I think you're very strong individually and as a duo, and you realize most people can't harmonize so well with such an amazing blend unless they're double tracking or multiple tracking in the studio, but you can do it real life on stage because of the genetic harmony, like the Everly Brothers. And the Civil Wars, I think, had amazing harmony. Who are some of your people you look up to for great harmonies?
Honestly, I really, really like the Secret Sisters and Penny and Sparrow as well. I really like them. And I think probably all-time favorite for harmonies would be Simon and Garfunkel. And then just below them would be the Milk Carton Kids, who are, I've seen them, too. Dozens of times. They're incredible.
I love the way the guy in the Milk Carton Kids has a handkerchief or something tied to the end of his guitar, and he rattles it around a lot. You know it's the Milk Carton Kids. So, Simon and Garfunkel's harmonies are sometimes a little unusual to dissect. Same with the Beatles, for that matter, too. But you mentioned the Secret Sisters, and they really worked well with John Paul White from the Civil Wars. They're neighbors, in fact.
And Penny and Sparrow, I don't know if you've listened to them, but they all live in the same community. Like, I think it's down in Alabama or Louisiana, somewhere in the South. But they're all neighbors with each other, living near each other, which is pretty wonderful.
I've met them all on a music cruise and at other places too since then. But, when you're on a ship with these great musicians, they can't get away from you without jumping overboard. Would you like to do a music cruise someday?
Oh, I'd love to. My first guitar teacher, and I think you know him, Ron, his name is Frank Lawrence. And he taught me guitar, and he also kind of introduced Joe and I to folk music, like Gillian Welch. And Sarah DeRose, and he's been going to Cayamo for years, so I've always heard his stories, just like how wonderful Cayamo is. So I'd love to do a music cruise, whether it's Cayamo or not, but that's probably the top of my list.